What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Gsluke here with our round 4 live stream for the Rocket Mortgage. A little bit later than normal. Had a little get together with my mom, stepdad, brother. Had a little powwow, some wine, steaks, lobster, and had ourselves a night. Right? You got to get together with family every once in a while. Unfortunately, that does make this live streams, a little bit annoying sometimes. But hey, didn't want to leave you guys hanging. So here we are. We got Jose down there in chat. It's not too late for Jose, it seems. We got Dave down there. What's going on? Yeah, UFC Fight Night. I was actually watching while I was over there at my family's house. And I should say my house growing up, right? But yeah, the golf was great. I was able to watch some UFC afterwards. A pretty solid afternoon, that's for sure. Time for a shot on stream. We have something pretty close to it right here. It's a Crown and Coke. But I have to say, the ratio is like 2/3 Crown and like 1/3 Coke. So cheers to all you guys out there. This is pretty much a shot. I do drink, Jave. I do have to say that. What's going on, XXL? And here's the drink to prove it. How do I feel about Sean Strickland? I have no idea. I didn't actually watch the main event. So what happened to Sean? Did he end up winning? Did he lose that main event fight? I do think that Sean Strickland is an absolute gold mine in terms of like comedy, in terms of like clips, social media, that sort of stuff. The guy is absolutely hilarious. Let's go through today, right? Let's take a look at what happened. First off, Bolt Bets. The guy's putting on an absolute masterclass. Not only did he win the round 2 stream, well, I had to go back and make sure I wasn't looking at the same contest because look who's there at number 1 today, Bolt Bets once again. So I had to go back and literally do a double take when I saw him win this contest in back-to-back days. Now, there's only 44 people in there, right? So it's not like he went out there and binked a GPP 2 days in a row, but still extremely impressive nonetheless. So congrats to you. Pretty solid lineup there. You can see Metricon in second. Pretty solid lineup as well. You had Europa, Tromb up there. So congrats to all the winners in that. I finished a whopping 36th place. In my lineup, of course, was in first place for like 80-90% of the day, right? Those late scores, that little rain delay that we ended up having happening completely screwed me, right? We played a lot of AM guys, and it was kind of hard to expect that happening, right? It was hard to foresee the rain delay, the thunder delay that they had out there, and it definitely made a huge impact, right? The chalk, the PM players that were going to get a lot of ownership because they're at the top of the board, went out there and absolutely smashed. So I did not have a good day, right? At least when it came to single entry. For my GPPs, we had a much better lineups. We had much better bullets out there, right? Because we did play a little bit of Ricky. I did have guys like Harry Higgs who went absolutely off down low. But yeah, this single entry at least, I wish I had Ricky in there, right? I wish I had some of those PM players that I mixed in because then I could have at least had a chance at cashing, right? Pretty much all the lineups at the top did have a lot of the PM chalk there. We are running it back for round 4. So if you want your chance to go take down Bolt Bets, who's absolutely just handing it to us at this point, make sure to join down in the chat, right? I'm going to put a link down there below and we'll have some fun with that. Predictable. Yep. Yo, let's keep crushing. Absolutely. Pretty sick day today. I guess it's worth noting, I guess I don't want to flex, but I'm just gonna flex. So today, right, we hit our main 4-man on Prize Picks. That was 1K. These 2 fades, I took the lower payout, right, only 2.5x because I was that confident in these 2 going under. Taylor Moore scared the living shit out of me. He had 2 balls that hit trees and came back into the fairway today. So he really should have hit like 7 fairways, but ended up getting to 9. So that hit for us. Actually, I didn't post this one, but yeah, that was complete shit. So you guys are glad I didn't post that. But this hit for another 2.5x, 2 fades I also really liked. Andrew Landry was literally never getting to 5 birdies. That just wasn't going to happen. The guy is literal dog shit. So that was pretty sweet. This one was a loss, unfortunate, right? Euro, and then we did double up on this Euro slip. So it was a pretty solid there. And then in terms of our props over here in Underdog, let's see. We got to go to results. That would help, right? A little bit of a mixed bag, right? Some losses for 250, a bunch of hits for 750, a couple pushes, another hit for 750 down here, a couple more hits for 750. So overall, you can see higher balance in our Underdog account than what we had for yesterday. and a solid $1,500 more over here in Prize Picks. So it was quite the day. We're going to try and do the same thing for props later on. That'll be towards the latter half of the stream, but towards the beginning, right, we're going to focus on the Showdown side. So let's go through what we saw today, which was a slightly easier course in the PM wave. Now, it wasn't a huge difference, right? It was a 0.1 shot difference, which can also be attributed to the fact that the guys at the top of the board are some of the better players, right? Also the players that are in better form to begin with. So I know I was complaining about the rain, right? Talking about how that break ended up screwing me a little bit. And there's some truth to that, but it was still a 0.1 shot difference. And again, if we're accounting for the talent gap difference, it was probably an easier course still in the morning wave. So tomorrow you're going to see a different setup, right? There is no AM PM wave. It's going to be threesomes off of both tees. So there's not going to be a huge weather edge, right? The guys going off first are going to be the guys at the middle of the leaderboard. And then they're going to move on outwards, right? Your last tee time is going to be your guys in first place. And then off of hole number 10, it's going to be your guys out there in last place. So it's kind of unfortunate. Typically, we like when we have twosomes, when tee times are really spread out like we saw today, because normally the AM wave plays so much easier, right? And unfortunately for us, we did run into those thunderstorms. We ran into a little bit of a delay today, which kind of gave us the little reverse. In terms of what we're looking at on Sunday, maybe it's a good thing they're going off in threesomes, because if they did the same thing when they went off in twos, they could very well run into the same situation, right? Where we expect the morning guys to maybe have a slight advantage. And then by the time we get to the afternoon wave, something throws it off completely. So I'm kind of glad they're going off early. I believe the first tee time, let me just double check. I think it was like 6:40 a.m. It was real early. The last, 6:45 a.m. The last tee time is at 8:55 a.m. Eastern time. They're going to be out there real early. So when we're looking at these projections, keep in mind that we have to look really as early as possible. And most of the storms that are coming through are starting towards like 10 or 11 a.m. Now, some of them are thunderstorms. Some of the rain is just going to be that, right? Just rain that comes through. So it's going to be a little bit unpredictable. We could see a stoppages play as soon as like 10:30, 11 a.m., or the stoppage of play might not happen at all, right? It might just be a rainstorm that comes through. There might not be enough of these, lightning cells or electricity cells that are getting close enough to the golf course, or you might not have a delay starting until like 3 p.m., right? When they're about to finish their round. So either way, it's going to impact the field pretty evenly, right? The guys that are going off, what is it, like a little bit less than 2 hours earlier than the rest of the field, might see like a 4 or 5 hole advantage, maybe 6 holes if we're really pushing it there. But outside of that, you're not going to see like a whole, 180 flip right between the two waves. So it's kind of unfortunate. That's what we're dealing with for Sunday here. We're used to that, right? When we run into these shitty weather situations, it happens quite often. And unfortunately for us, that's what we're looking at for Sunday. So we'll circle back to pins a little bit later. We'll look at those when we're about to go through the props. But I did take a little bit of a peek. There's a lot of back pins, but they don't look that difficult. They look like, obviously, this course is not difficult to begin with. There's going to be a ton of birdies out there. Let's pick up our projections. Let's talk through our Sunday strategy when it comes to DFS. And then afterwards, we'll talk about everything you need to for those props. Let's catch up on chat. Where are we at? Got the hole-by-hole breakdown. Let's go. Yeah, I saw the message earlier. Thank you. That's super clutch. Your local news station at Detroit says 3 p.m. for storms, showers before that. Yeah, I saw a few different forecasts. I should have brought the other ones up, right, over there on Windy. But like NAM has them coming in at like 3, 4 p.m. So that's right in line with what the local forecasts say. The Medio Blue one has thunderstorms at 6 a.m. So like not showers, thunderstorms at 6 a.m. and then thunderstorms again at like 1, 2 p.m. So that one's a little bit weird. If we take a look at the Icon model, they're not calling for thunderstorms at all. GFS is not calling for thunderstorms at all. And same thing with the ECM. So it's, I don't know, it could be a wash, right? There might be a delay. There might not be a delay tomorrow. But yeah, I think going off in threesomes kind of neutralizes it either way. I don't know if we have to worry about it all that much. Let's talk through our strategy. So Sunday Showdown, extremely predictable, right? Placement points, if you're new to Showdown, right, are a part of the Sunday slate. So kind of like what you have for main slate, where you're getting points for finishing in first, second, third, fourth, so on and so forth. It's the same thing for round 4 Showdown, except less points, right? You're not getting all 30 points, right, for going out there and finishing first. That would be a little bit ridiculous, right, compared to the average Showdown score. Instead, it's 12 points, and it does drop rather quickly, right? So very similar to what you have in the main slate. Once you get down there to like 4th, 5th place, it's fractions of what you're getting for first place. It's the same kind of idea. So when you look at ownership for Sunday Showdown, it is all centered towards the top of the board, right? People are going to take their chalk. They're going to try and get those placement points. And it's like a good portion. And by a good portion, I would say like maybe a solid 50% of the large GPP player pools are playing it like a cash contest. They're going out there, they're trying to take as many of those placement points as humanly possible. And you're going to see just massive dupe trains of all of the guys like up there in the top 5, top 10. And usually the one that fits the salary the best is sometimes, even though there's only like 5,000 to 8,000 entries in the $20 GPP usually, you'll see like 200 lineup trains for Sunday Showdown, sometimes like 500 to 1,000 lineup trains, which is almost like a whole eighth of the field playing the exact same set of 6 players. And if you're one of the donkeys that enters that lineup, let me just tell you, you're absolutely paying the rake. So for Sunday Showdown, what I normally preach here and what we're going to be going with for Sunday Showdown is you've got to take some of the chalk up top, right? Because those placement points, especially in large field contests, matter. They separate the field to win first place, right? You're going to have the winner, probably 2nd and 3rd place. But at a birdie contest like this, a birdie fest, like what we have at the Rocket Mortgage, it doesn't mean nearly as much. It is not the end all be all to go out there and get, what is it? I think like the 7 or 5 points that you're getting for some of those top end finishes. What you really need, right, is the guy that's going to go out there and shoot 7, 8 under par tomorrow. So when you look at the player pool, there's going to be a good mix of guys that are further behind. The guys that are further behind are usually cheaper for one, because the DraftKings pricing algorithm does include your current score in their calculation. And you also get lower ownership, right? Because like I said, everyone is just taking all those chalky guys at the top of the board. So what my strategy is, right, there's going to be guys, let's say like a Max Homa, a Sanjay M, that are a little bit lower owned that I'm mixing in, and then Ricky Fowler that I'm playing in every single lineup, right? Yes, I am locking Ricky Fowler. He is about 50% projected owned in these large field GPPs. I went back and forth. I considered going out there and fading him as a hedge. If you didn't know, right, he's a core play for me. I played him in like 55% of my lineups this week. I played him as an outright bet, right, in one of the larger outright bets I've had to place for quite some time because of how short of his odds were. So it would be real easy for me, right, for Sunday Showdown to go out there and fade him, kind of take it as a hedge, but that's taking the easy way out, right? And I'm not bitching out for Sunday Showdown, right? If Ricky's going to have a day, if he's going to win this tournament, right, he's going to have to shoot 6, 7 under par, right? This isn't like a US Open, right? Where maybe if he goes out there, he shoots -1, he wins the damn thing. He knows, and everyone knows this, right? Considering how soft it's going to be tomorrow, you're probably going to have to get to like 26, maybe even like 27, 28 under par to win. I mean, maybe not that far, right? Because there's not that many people that are like -17 or better, right? There's a lot that are like -14, -15. But at least like 25, 26 under, right? Someone is going to nuke this golf course with how soft it's going to play. And not only did they get the rain today, guys, it's worth noting that it is currently just pouring, absolutely pissing rain over there in Detroit right now. It's going to be even softer than what we saw today, let alone all the rain they're calling for during play tomorrow. I mean, it's just going to be like, it's going to be carnage out there in terms of like birdies. Like the course is going to just get ripped apart, right? So not carnage from the golfer standpoint, but carnage from like the superintendent standpoint, where they're going to be just all up in arms after tomorrow. So I'm taking Ricky. I'm mixing in some of these guys here in the 9 and 10K range. Obviously, if I'm taking Ricky and let's say like a Max Homa, that's a lot of salary, right? I'm definitely going to have to dive into the 6K range to try and accommodate that sort of build. And luckily, because it's a birdie fest, because we don't have to take guys at the top of the leaderboard, there are plenty of pivots down here in the 6K range that I'm willing to get to. That'd be like a Luke Donald, I guess, or a Zach Johnson, for example, right? And you may ask, Luke, why are you getting to those sort of players? Well, they can throw darts with their wedges, and they're really good putters, right? To get to like 7 under par tomorrow, you can throw all the darts you want to like 5 to 10 feet, you're going to have to make those putts, right? So a lot of these guys down low, like Chesson Hadley, of course, really good putter. Maybe not with Charlie Hoffman, but he's just a nuclear hot player. Higo can get hot with the putter. Stallings, same thing. Also just a nuclear hot type of guy. There's a lot of value down here I'm willing to get to. And you can see I'm not taking any of the chalk. In fact, if we were to sort this little sheet here by ownership, which I think is probably going to be especially helpful for you guys here. Let's see, let's go over to column K, largest to smallest. There we go. You'll see that I'm fading almost everyone up top, right? Morikawa, Hadwin, Pendrith, Rye, all of these players that are just going to get way higher ownership than they should because of their placement. I'm just not getting to, right? It's a birdie fest. You're going to have to go out there and shoot 6-7 under par to get to the nuts. And the only real guys that I feel confident about doing that are Ricky Fowler, who's just on another planet with the form right now. And you can say, and trust me, I know the argument for fading him, right? I talk about chalk all the time, so on and so forth. Trust me, I get it. I just think that Ricky Fowler is going to win this golf tournament, and I think he's going to do it handedly, right? That's why I bet him this week. That's why I've played him for what at this point it will be 3 of the 4 showdown rounds that we're playing, and why I probably shouldn't have faded him today for birdies. He was at 6 birdies in Underdog. I took his under. I learned my lesson. You don't fade Ricky Fowler when you have a real good lean on him going into the week. So he's the one real exception, I suppose. Taylor Moore, right? He's kind of chalky, right? He's 21% owned. I'm getting there because today he didn't play all that well. He still kept it together, kept it under par, just could not buy a putt other than the eagle that he made there on the front 9. And I think the ball striking maybe wasn't perfect today. In fact, let's look at the shots gained metrics, right? Let's bring up exact metrics for how he played today. Let's see. He gained on approach and he slightly lost off the tee. Like it's not as bad as what people probably perceive as round, right? He shot -3, which compared to like everyone else towards the top isn't all that good. That's probably going to keep his ownership, right? I have it at 21%. It should probably be like 25 to 30%. Like, compared to some of the other guys around him, I think he's the class of the range. He's the only real PGA Tour winner out of the bunch there. And, right, the first 3 rounds was the best player, right? Was your leader, right? Tied for the lead after the first 3 days, or first 2 days, I should say. I like him at 21%. Little bounce back for Taylor Moore. Chris Kirk, another established player that I think is just better than most of the other guys in the 8K range. And it helps that he's only 18.1%. They've got a lot of guys squeezing him there, right? Even Adam Schenk is a little bit chalky. The Rise, the Pendriths, the Hadwins, right? That a ton of people are going to get to. Kind of keeps guys like Kirk and even a Taylor Moore lower than they should be. I mean, like I said, like Moore could easily be 30%. Chris Kirk could easily be like 25, maybe even like 30% owned on some of these showdown slates. And he's not because of the fact that there's so many guys in this range that are towards the top of the board, right? They kind of like keep each other in check when it comes to their ownership. So you can mix in a few, like let's say you don't love Taylor Moore, you don't love Chris Kirk. Like I get it, right? These are just the guys that I like tomorrow. Maybe it's Adam Schenk. You could throw him in there if you wanted to. You could throw in a Rye, a Pendrith, a Hadwin. Like I get it, right? I don't have a crystal ball. I don't pretend to know exactly what's going to happen tomorrow. Just don't take all of them in your lineups. It's simple, right? Pick 2, maybe 3 players that are going to be 18% plus owned and move on with them, right? I picked my 3, right? Ricky, Taylor Moore, and Chris Kirk. And that's how I'm rolling with my lineups. The rest of my build is going to be a lot more balanced. Let's go ahead and sort this by salary again. Get back to the tier by tier look at it. Let's see, column B. There we go. A lot of guys in like the 8-9K range that are pivots, right? We have our chalk we talked about, but like a Justin Suh, right? 2.7% owned. I mean, like this is a complete byproduct of the guys around him. I mean, like I said, all the chalk is up here in the 8K range. And then you've got Justin Suh, 2.7% owned. Like that's just too good to pass up, right? You have guys like Smalley, Jaeger, that the same thing, like they're just getting squeezed by the top end of the board. And then that really chalky 8K range, they're like 4-3% owned. I really like those plays. And then like up top, right? We already talked about Homa and Sanjay M. It makes it a little bit tough salary-wise, right? When you start a Fowler and then a Max Homa. But the pricing for Sunday Showdown is always really soft. And especially when there's 6K options that I like, you can make it happen, right? Like you can take like a $6,400 Luke Donald and then go out there and even still take like some 8K options with the rest of your build. So that's how I'm treating the slate. I guess in the 7K range, let's go through a few players, right? We went through the top and bottom of the board. In terms of the middle of the board, I like Spawn. I like Hogard. Hogard's got some ownership, but I'm willing to eat it. Carson Young, just a good player who, he's -9, right? He's not at the top of the board. So hopefully people aren't getting to him. But they were for 4-round stuff. But hopefully because he's not like in contention, doesn't draw that much attention. That's what I'm hoping there at least. Let's see. We've got Griffin, Svenny, just really good high upside players, both low owned. Let's see. Grayson Sig, MJ Daffy. It's that same theme, right? There are a few chalky pieces. They're all at the top of the board, right? They're all really expensive. And then it's pretty much pivots the whole way down the board there. In terms of lineup construction, let's go through that now on DraftKings. Not a ton, I guess we need to touch on, right? If you're going to play cash this week, I do think that Sunday is probably the best day to do so. You got to try and get some placement points, especially like when you're at a difficult course for Sunday Showdown. But we're not at a difficult course, right? We're at a birdie fest. So placement points for, Sunday Showdown, I don't think you have to like obsess over. Now, Ricky Fowler, I think he's a fantastic cash play tomorrow. In fact, if I was playing cash, he would be in every single lineup that I'm, generating for that. Down in this 8K range, that's a real good range to live in if you're going to take a cash lineup. In fact, let's do this. Can we take like all 8K guys for our cash lineup and like all 8K guys in contention? Let's include Harmon there, right? He's $9,200. We're probably gonna have to take like one 7K guy too. But let's throw Shank in there. Let's throw Kirky in there. Let's throw Taylor Moore. Let's take our one super cheap option, but let's keep it pretty chalky, right? For this, sort of cash build. Let's throw Alex Noren in there, right? You could easily build like this hyper balanced build of all guys in the top 10, top 15 that are all playing pretty well, that are all decent players right here in this range. I don't hate that for cash. Normally I'd say like you've got to play Fowler, right? In this sort of lineup, in this sort of contest, but I don't know if you have to. Like it's just, actually now that I'm looking at it, I don't know if there's a huge difference, right? Between upgrading to Harmon and Fowler, because it's the difference between like a low 6K golfer and then an upper 7s. And I don't think there's a huge talent gap difference, truth be told, between some of those 6K options and some of the even mid to higher end of the 7Ks. So it's just a weak field, right? It's a weird event, right? A lot of the good players miss the cut. So you're getting a lot of shitty guys right down there in this 6 and 7K range. So that's how I would take it with cash tomorrow. GPPs, you get the idea, right? You mix in 1-2 pieces of those 20% plus guys, and then you take a bunch of pivots down there in this 6 and 7K range. So that's what I'm looking at from lineup construction. We'll go over any questions with DFS and then talk about some props. Looks like we're good on questions for now. If you do have any, you can still go ahead and fire them down in chat. We'll circle back to them, but let's focus on the prop side now. So in terms of props, we've got 3 slates to work with, right? PGA, Live, and Euro Golf. Today, Euro was a wash for me, actually an exactly 50-50 day. Live Golf, a print fest. PGA, an absolute print fest. So if I'm going to lean towards anything, if I'm going to focus on any boards, it's probably PGA and Live, right? And truth be told, those are the best tournaments this week, the ones that I know the most about anyways. Euro Golf today, let's just go ahead and throw it out there. We didn't do anything on stream, but I absolutely nuked it on Underdog today. I took like all overs on strokes because they were calling for 30 to 40 mile an hour wind gusts. They got the wind. They had the wind the whole day. They just shortened the course by literally 850 yards, and they used really easy pins. The course actually played easier, right, in 30, 40 mile an hour wind gusts than it did for the first 2 days. The scoring average got better. So I was tilted about that, but we did squeeze out enough to get literally break even. Actually, I think we made a little bit of money on Underdog, and we were exactly break even on Prize Picks. So we got out alive. But truth be told, right, with the scoring average that easy, we should not have gotten out alive. It should have been an absolute slaughter. So I might stay away from Euro. I hate when a golf course should play difficult. You have everything setting up for it to play difficult, and then a tour takes it easy on the players. The PGA Tour does it from time to time, so it's not like they're completely, innocent in doing that. But I don't know. I get tilted about it, right? It's kind of like when your guy misses the cut for PGA DFS. You don't want to play that guy for the next 2-3 events. That's how I feel about Euro Golf. Like it shouldn't have played that easy. And they made it play that easy, right? They went out of their way to make it play to that kind of level. In terms of props, there are a few discrepancies I've noticed between the two boards. So first off, there are a lot of guys at 5.5 on Underdog. So if we go over here to the pick'ems, bring up prize picks for PGA, like Keegan's 5.5, Chris Kirk is, you got Pendy, Adam Hadman at 5.5, pretty much the whole board, right? Except for Max Homa. Max Homa was at 5.5 on prize picks, right? And a lot of those other guys that I pointed out, right, that were at 5.5 birdies, right? 5 for Chris Kirk, 5 for Pendrith, 5 for Adam Hadman over here. So on Underdog, the one prop that kind of stands out to me right now is probably this over at 5 birdies for Max Homa. Unfortunately, I hate everyone else at 5.5, right? The only real guy I would take at 5.5 in this field would probably have been Ricky, but he's at 6 birdies at this point. So I don't love the PGA board on either side, honestly. Like even with the better pricing for some of these, like, you know, like guys like a Chris Kirk, right? Hadwin, a Pendrith at 5 birdies. I don't know if I love those plays. Like, and I'm sure a lot of people were hammering them, right? That's why they went from 5 to 5.5 birdies in Underdog. I don't disagree, right? I would definitely lean on the over at 5 birdies. I just don't know if it's like enough to actually like justify playing it. So the PGA board, I've taken quite a good look at this point, especially before the stream. I took like 20, 25 minutes to really break it down. It's not my favorite slate. I mean, there were a few green and regulation props I like. So I wish the Homa was at 5.5 on prize picks, right? Because I like one prop over there. The one prop I really like on prize picks is under 14.5 for Brian Harman. The field average for greens is like 13 for this week. I think it was like 12.9 for round 1. It was probably a little bit better for rounds 2 and 3, probably like at least like 13.1, 13.2. I don't have the exact metric for you guys offhand, but like Brian Harman is like an average at best iron player. Like even for this shitty of a field, like he's just not that good. So kind of like that under, right? Miss 4 greens, you're hitting the under there. We took guys like Sanjay, we took unders on guys like Hideki Matsuyama, right? Who are legit elite tier iron players at under 14 greens at the beginning of the week, and those hit, right? In non-windy conditions. So Brian Harman at 14.5, like I feel pretty decent about that. So that's one prop I'm pointing out over here. Other than that, I don't see much. Like you guys know, normally I can find you a lot of value, right? Yesterday I got like freaking 35 slips between the two sites, as you guys saw earlier. I'm not seeing, at least on the PGA side, a ton of value. It kind of seems pretty shitty. I don't know. We'll go through pins. Maybe I'll get inspiration when we go through the pins here in a second. But yeah, other than this Brian Harman greens regulation prop, it's feeling like a little bit of a toss-up. You think I'm lagging? Yeah, I might be. That's always a explanation. It might be you lagging though. So I don't know. I'll have to look at the replay afterwards. Let's see. In terms of our averages, we did have T. Swinney send me that before, so I'll go ahead and bring that up right now. Let's see. Oh, I got to bring up Discord first. That would help. There we go. Yeah, just to give you guys some of the metrics from today. So as per usual, this comes from the prop report that T. Swinney and I were able to craft, and gives you the averages from today, right? It's split by waves. So on the left side, you've got all the AM stats, and then on the right side over here, right, you've got all the PM stats. And at the bottom, it's everything congregated for the day. So like what I'm going to focus on here, right, is the stuff congregated for the day. Because I think it played pretty consistently, right? It didn't play that much easier in the afternoon. So in terms of your field average, it was 27.31% birdies, which is the equivalent of 4.91 birdies per round. That's impressive. So you had the 4.91 birdies per round. Your bogey average, I guess we'll go through that too, right, was 10.45%, which is the equivalent of 1.88 bogeys or worse per round. So those are the metrics, right? 4.91, 1.88 bogeys per round over there. And we can use that for some of our analysis. Let's look at the pins now, right? We got to go through every little resource that we can before we fire on these. I did my best to look at some of the props beforehand, some of the pin locations beforehand. But other than noticing that a lot of them were back pins, didn't see all that much, but let's go through them. So hole number 1 is, let's say, like a middle left pin. So let's get it on hole 1. Let's bring up this green and see what we're working with, shall we? So a little middle left pin looks pretty average, right? There's no real shelf action going. You got this little slope below the hole that I guess might be a problem if you overspin it, but it's pretty flat up there where the pin actually is. And without that much slope to worry about, I have to imagine that players are probably going to throw a few darts in there at hole number 1. Hole 2 is a back right pin. It is 4 paces off of the right, as you guys can see there. And let's take a look at this one. So it's like yonder, let's say, in this range of the green where I've got my cursor. Same kind of thing as hole 1. You know, it's not like a front pin in a bowl that's super easy, but you've got no massive slopes to worry about. In fact, maybe a little bit of a backstop that you might be able to use. It's a longer hole. You're not really spinning a wedge, right, on a 450-yard hole. So maybe rather than spinning it off of the slope, any green or any iron shot, I should say, that is releasing through the green, or maybe has a little bit too much steam on it, is going to get caught by that back slope there. So this is probably an easy hole to make a par on. In terms of birdies at hole number 2, I think you'll see a few, but not like a ton. Like it's not going to be a super easy birdie hole. Hole 3 is a back left pin. Sometimes I go through this too quickly, right? So I'm trying to slow it down a little bit. It's 5 paces off the left. It's way back there, right? 32 paces onto the green. It's a relatively short hole, right? Just 376 yards today. Because it's a back pin, probably going to play like 390 yards. I'm here for the final round. So like I said, the one main thing you're noticing, right, is a lot of back pins, right? Even just over the first few holes that we're looking at here. But kind of like the first few, right? There's not a terrible slope to worry about. It's not close to the bunkers, and it's only a 390-yard hole, maybe like 385 yards. So you'll see birdies at hole 4. You'll see, hole 3. You'll see birdies at all the holes right here through the first 3 holes, but none of them are like absolute cupcakes. Hole 4, the par 5, this is an extremely long par 5, is a little bit of a front pin here. So it's going to play a little shorter, maybe like 20 yards shorter. So maybe like 610 yards rather than the 633 that you saw today. But it's a pretty simplistic pin location. How far is it off the right there? It's 5 paces off the right. It's 7 paces on. So it's probably like right here in terms of a pin location. It looks pretty easy to get up and down from, right? If you miss to the right over here, you have enough room to chip, right, if you're over there pin high. And if you're short, and especially if you're in the fairway over here, it's like almost a guaranteed up and down. So I would say hole number 4 probably plays even easier than you saw today. But with a 633-yard par 5, a lot of it comes down to wind. And unfortunately, like with the forecast that we have, I don't know this golf course enough, right, to know which direction hole number 4 is going. But if it's downwind tomorrow, I'm sure it'll play even easier. But there's not a good way to know that. Hole 5 is a back left pin. It's only 3 paces off the side. So this one's really tucked back here in the back left. It's a par 3. So it's a short hole to begin with, right? It's only going to play like 160 yards tomorrow, but not nearly as easy as what you saw today. You had a little backstop that you could use. Players were hitting wedges into here and sliding it off of that. Tomorrow, you don't have that luxury, right? You're not hitting a wedge. You're probably hitting a 9-iron out there tomorrow, maybe even something like an 8-iron for some of the shorter hitters. So yeah, hole 5 is probably a little bit more difficult. Let's see, hole 6. Hole 6 is a back left pin. It's 5 paces off the back. It's way on there. So very similar to hole 5, right? Very similar kind of setup. And yeah, I don't know. There's not much to say about hole 6. It's a long, pretty difficult hole. It's going to play to a similar yardage as what we saw here for round 3. And I would imagine a pretty similar difficulty, right? You can see there's not a ton of undulation up towards this part of the green. And like I said, very similar to round 3. You're not going to see much of a difference between what you see in round 3, round 4. Hole number 7 is another par 5. The pin that we get for round 4, as you guys can see here, is like a front left middle, like is the way that I would describe it, right? So like 5 paces off the left, 10 on here. So like right around here. And like being the 10 on is important because 10 on lets you use the slope behind it, right? And heck, you could even use the slope to the left if you wanted to. That would probably be cutting it a little bit close to the bunker, I think, for a lot of players liking. So I'd have to imagine, hole 7, people are going to be going forward in 2, right? Especially if you hit the fairway. But I think if you miss the fairway at hole number 7, you've got a real good shot to lay up at like 100 yards and then still stick it to like 3-4 feet. So hole number 7 is going to get eaten alive. I would have to imagine, if it's not the easiest hole tomorrow, it's going to be at worst probably the second easiest hole. Hole number 8 is a back right pin. It is 5 paces off of the right. It's also tucked way back there. So kind of like holes 1 through 3, right, where you had these back pins, they were kind of at easy, wide open areas. That's what you're getting. So a slightly longer course, maybe less wedges than what you saw there for round 3. But I don't know. There's not really any pins they can use at this course that are going to trick up these players all too much. Hole 9 is another back pin. Jeez Louise. There's only like 3 or 4 front pins this entire 9, and 6 paces off the right. That is very similar to all the other pins. They've got a theme for tomorrow. Let me just say that much. They've definitely got a theme going here for round 4. Hole number 10 is a back left pin. Could have guessed. Back left. And it's very similar. Not a huge slope to worry about. Not really in a bowl. They really just chose the same sort of pin for every hole. Let's see. Hole number 11. Back left pin. Wow. Who could have guessed? Yeah, at this point, I'm starting to get kind of annoyed by this, that it's just so like cookie cutter out there. Hole 12 is like a middle right. I guess it's like kind of shading towards the front here. It's a difficult hole because it's like 475 yards. That's probably around the yardage that it'll play here for round 4. Very similar pin to today, though. It's going to play to a similar distance, too. So, kind of like what you saw there in the front 9 with some of the difficult holes, I think they're going to play pretty similar. Just not too much variance when it comes to the pin locations there. Hole 13 is a back right pin. It is tucked 4 paces off the right. It's kind of up here on the shelf. You can see, in the middle of this green, there's a ridge that bisects it, where you do have a pretty severe slope there. So that's kind of tricky, but it is going to be like 390 yards. So like, another wedge for these players into this green. And if they're coming out of the fairway, I have to imagine that they're probably going to tear that apart too. I don't know. It kind of seems like these guys are really trying to protect this course, right? They're just using like all back pins, which, by the way, on a wet golf course, it's worth noting back pins can be a little bit tricky because you have to have really good, spin control. Or you have to be able to hit that shot that doesn't zip back. Not a bunch of them have that little false front action, but the last hole does, right? You have that little false front to worry about. Let's see. We're on hole 14. It's back left pin. It's kind of tricky, right? Got this little slope to worry about, I suppose. But I don't know. It's a reachable par 5. Like they're going to see a bunch of eagles and a ton of birdies. Hole 15 is a front right. So this will be a birdie hole. So I know we saw a lot of front pins, a lot of difficult pin locations. Hole 15 is an absolute cupcake. It's going to play like 130, and it's wide open to the players to attack. Hole 16 is a back left pin. Who could have guessed? And then, by the way, a lot of these back pins seem to be like back left. I know there's a few back right pins too, but these back left pins are screaming Chris Kirk to me. I mean, like the guy hits a draw like I do out there. And I know if I had these back right pins, I'd feel pretty good about it tomorrow, right? Stop it maybe just like a couple paces short of the pin, let it skip once, stop, maybe even pull back a little bit on those short little wedge holes. And hell, I think I would make a lot of birdies on this course. I'm sure Chris Kirk's probably licking his chops. Let's see. We're on hole 16. Hole 16, yeah, back left. Is it the same pin location as today? Look at this. Hole 16, 4 paces off the left, 22 on. Maybe it's like slightly forward, I guess. It's literally like the same pin as round 3. I thought I was looking at the wrong hole because they normally don't do that. Hole 17 is like a middle left pin. Let's see what that John looks like. You see this shot number 2 right here? It's very close to that, which for a par 5, yeah, that's going to get eaten apart. Kind of like hole number 7. And then our last final hole, 18, is a back right pin. Oh, who could have guessed? Another back pin. And yeah, not a ton of slopes to worry about. I guess you got this to worry about over here, right? You don't want to run into that and have your ball get sucked off the green. But yeah, it's a short hole, right? You're probably flying it the whole way back onto that shelf anyways. As long as you can execute that and you don't mishit it and hit it short right there, you're probably going to have a birdie look there too. So I don't know. It's an easy course, guys. It's not like a US Open where we're going to get real tricky pins that we have to worry about. But these back pins, they're going to make a difference, right? The scoring average today, I know it was 3 under par. I don't see that happening again. Like, I know it's going to be soft. I know they're getting all the rain overnight. These pin locations, they're at least gonna like keep it the same as today, right? I don't think it's gonna get easier than 3 under par. I think it might actually even get slightly more difficult based on the pin locations that we're looking at. So again, that's just the field average, right? Keep in mind, right? If I'm projecting the field average, maybe it'd be like 2.75 under tomorrow, which I think would be a good projection, maybe 2.5 under par tomorrow. If it gets even more difficult than we're expecting, these elite tier players, right, are going to project for 3.5, 4 under. So it's not like I'm saying that these guys on Underdog, these guys on Prize Picks are mispriced when it comes to strokes. I'm not arguing for that. I think they're pretty accurate. But compared to today, I do think it is going to, at least in my humble opinion, maybe play a little bit more difficult. Let's see. Front pins over all the par fives. Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, the par fives look pretty easy. Let's see. Let me double check that, right? Hole 4, right, front pin, but it's like 600 yards. Hole 7, super easy. The back 9 ones, what, it's 14 and 17? Or is it 15? Yeah, 14, right? 14 is pretty difficult. I have to say there, T20, right? 4, 7, definitely 17. I don't know if I'd call 17 a front pin either, right? That's like a middle pin. So definitely with 4 and 7, I agree. But 14 and 17, sorry, I keep saying the wrong. Yeah, 14, 17, Don't know if those are so easy. So yeah, we'll have to see. They're going to make a bunch of birdies, right? Obviously, there's a reason why they have them at 5.5 birdies on here. But at least for the scrubs, like especially over here in Underdog, you could never get me to bet like a Pendrith or an Adam Hadwin at 5.5 birdies. Like that is just, it's too crazy. Kirk sold your 6-man by 1 green. What prop did you take? What was he at over there? I didn't partake in any Chris Kirk today, Dave. But yeah, that's unfortunate. If you had a 6-man miss by 1, that's unfortunate. It happens all too often, though, it feels like, right? You have all those 5 of 6s, those 4 of 5s that end up hitting. Good thing on Prize Picks, they pay a 2x for it, right? I had one myself today, right? I don't know if you saw this one earlier. Let's see, right? This one right here, right? Ended up going 4 for 5 with this DNP up there. That's just how this prop game works. Is what it is, right? If you keep firing on them, you go out there and you'll hit the 5 of 5, the 4 of 4 for a grand, like we hit over there today too. It's just all about volume, right? All about giving yourself enough chances. In terms of props, though, like I feel like the live board, the Euro board, might be where most of our hay is going to be made today. I took a bunch of unders on live. The birdie average for live in round 1 was 2.81. Today it was significantly better. In fact, let's just bring up the averages, right? So live golf. Day 1, right, played 1.2 over par. Today, only 0.48 over par. So I haven't ran the actual birdie or better average, but I know it's got to be better by 3 birdies. There were a lot of scrubs even that were going out there and making 3, 4 birdies today. So I know I went out there. I did a lot of fades at 3.5 today, and they worked out, right? It was an absolute print fest on live. It probably shouldn't have worked out as well as it did. So that's kind of the ironic part, right? On live today, we outperformed what probably should have happened, right? Because the course played even easier than it should have. And then the DP World Tour, right? I'll just show you guys this. This is wild, by the way. Round 2, right, played 1 over par. Round 1, 0.77 over. Today, plus 0.16. There were 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts. That made no sense, right? So we obviously got screwed over there and kind of overperformed. The live golf stuff, though, we absolutely shamrocked our ass today. Just we got super lucky compared to what we probably should have had happen. So these guys at 3.5 birdies, I guess it depends on the setup, right? If they set it up difficult like round 1, it's probably a lot of unders again, right? Like I know it played slightly easier today, but we have a 2-round sample size of 1 like 2.8 birdies. 1, I'm assuming probably close to like 3 birdies of what you saw today, and probably some unders to take, right? Bubba Watson at 3.5. Probably not the worst look there. Let's see if we throw in a Euro. Does it get rid of the multiplier? It does not. That's unfortunate. Yesterday there were a few loopholes that you could get away with if you were over here. But let's see. Let's throw that in the shopping cart for right now. Right, those two props. It's only 2.5x. That kind of sucks. So if anyone has a DMP, please hit me up. I would be ever so grateful for a DMP right now. That would be like the perfect spot for one. These strokes props, right? I know day one, right, was plus 1.2. Today was plus 0.48. These strokes props, I mean, even for some of the scrubs, don't seem all that bad. Remember, it is a par 71. So like a Phil Mickelson right here is being projected for plus 1.5. You know, Casey's at a half a stroke over, which is like the field average, right? A little bit better than that, would say. Answer, Leishman, I don't know. I'm tempted for some unders on strokes, we'd say. And honestly, probably unders on birdies too. There are not a ton of birdies out there to be made. And also, at least if you're having a good round, not a ton of bogeys to be made. Right? If you keep the ball in play, it's a short golf course. I don't know. It's kind of different, especially it's kind of like the opposite of what we're seeing over there in Detroit, where you're seeing two of the extremes on both sides. Is Fowler going to win it? I think so, Electric. At least I'm hoping so. I've got a pretty good outright bet on his ass that I'm trying to go out there and cash. Let's see what we've got on Underdog. I'm trying to find some sort of prop slip for the stream here before I go and dive into all my analysis. These 5.5 birdies numbers, I can't do. I just can't do it out of principle. Strokes wise, let's see. Is Cam Davis at the same on each site? Let's do some line shopping. Is that 68.5 on both sites? Okay. Sanjay, what is Sanjay at? Same thing on both sites. All right. And then 68 for everyone else. What are they at? Probably higher, right? 68.5 right there. 68.5 for Hadwin. Any 69s? Yeah, I guess for Ches Reavy, but he's not over there on Underdog. And then they do have Pendrith, right, at 69 strokes. What is he at? He's at 68. Actually got bumped down to 68. He was at 68.5 just a little bit ago. Oh, boy. The fade didn't work today. I faded him today at 68.5 strokes, and he shot like -6, -7, so completely burned us there. But, you know, it's a one-stroke discrepancy right between the two boards. Max Homa, we're also getting a discrepancy compared to Prize Picks. On a board where I hate a lot of the value, where I hate a lot of the options that we can even bet, I feel like this is the best option. And I don't even feel that great about it, honestly. Like, these are probably going to push. Like, Max Homa is most likely going to make like 5 birdies tomorrow, maybe more. And then Taylor Pendrith, I could easily see him shooting 4 under par. Right? I've got some like more difficult pins. Like, the scoring average today was like, just bring it up here, was 3 under par. I think it's probably going to be like 2.5 under. I think him gaining 1.5 strokes to the field, like I said, is probably exactly where he's going to end up. So it's, I don't know. I don't love these boards. They're saying DNP in the Discord. They are. Well, okay, let me bring up the Discord. Oh, now Harley's messaging me. Okay. Who is El Donna Dawn? Is that a WNBA player or something? Like, I'm assuming it is. Where is WNBA? I don't even see it on there, so I'll get. Oh, it's right there. What am I doing? Oh. All right. We're going to do this for the stream. We're going to go with these guys over here on Prize Picks. This is a DNP, Elena Del Don. Let me confirm that's the name, right? Yeah, Elena Del Don is a WNBA DNP. Couldn't be in the stream because he's out golfing. Well, I appreciate the look either way, Harley. That's pretty sick. So yeah, I'm entering this. That'll get DNP'd. Instead of 2.5x, we will get a full 3x, right, for the Harmon under, and then the Bubba Watson under that I'm taking right there. Which, by the way, the Bubba Watson one is just a complete numbers play, right? If the average is going to be like 3 birdies, you know, he's about an average player on Live, right? No disrespect to my boy Bubba. I love the guy to death. But he's probably about as average Live players are going to get there. And then let's lock these in. Let's just go ahead and pull the Band-Aid off. I guess play something over here in Underdog. It's the over on Max Homa birdies. And then, the over on Pendrith strokes, which, again, are values compared to what we have over here in Prize Picks. Right, Homa's at 5.5. And then for strokes on Taylor Pendrith, he's 69 strokes. So I feel like those are pretty fair slips to take, right? Lock in the value. Take advantage of the DNP, right, that we got there, which shout out to Harley, shout out to Matt down there in the chat. good looks. Get us that full RI. If I want the DMPs, play any of the League of Legends map 3s for Gang and T1. Okay. Dude, good looks on that. Thank you, guys. Now we have multiple. You're saying preferably T1. They'll sweep for sure. Yeah, I'll keep an eye. Well, I'm about to hop off stream here. Right? We're about to wrap it up here. If you're on the Patreon, you're on the Discord, I'll keep an eye on that. If we do end up getting the sweep, like the 2-0 there, I'll probably fire on a few more. This feels like the one for Fowler. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. He could go out there, he could choke, right? Like he did at the US Open. Like, let's not kid ourselves. That is well within the range of outcomes, but it's like a birdie fest. Like, these guys are going to take advantage of the course. It is just so much harder to choke at that kind of format than a US Open, right? Where you can make doubles and triples and knock yourself out of it. Thoughts on Rye on strokes? That's a good question. What's he at? I honestly don't even know. He's 68.5. Yeah, if you're talking for the under, I suppose I would lean that direction, but I'm going to stay away. That would be a no-go for me. That feels like a 50-50 prop there. Got to help you back in the Discord. Yeah, I got you, bro. There's a few people that actually got kicked from it due to some technical errors. You might have been one of those people, Mark. Few people I got to get back in there. So I've been super busy with family today. I'll do it as soon as we get off stream. I got you, Mark. Speaking of, any other questions for DFS? If not, we're going to hop on out of here. Let's see. Did they bump anything on Underdog while we were dicking around here on stream? Doesn't look like it. A lot of 5.5 still. Still got home at 5 birdies, which I'm assuming that has to be because he didn't make a ton of birdies today, right? Like, I know Maxi Boy, I think he made like 4 birdies today. I think it was the day before. I think he made like 4 birdies too. Yet he still finds himself in contention because he's playing such clean golf. The guy's not making bogeys out there. Yeah, he made 4 today. Okay, and then round 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I see why they're posting him at 5 birdies, but they've got to know that this is variance, right? Max Homa is like a top 20 birdie maker on the PGA Tour. You can't have Max Homa at 5 birdies and then like some slap dick, like absolute slappy, like I don't want to say Taylor Moore because I think he's pretty good at golf, but like an Aaron Rye at 5.5 birdies. Like, that's crazy business. That's for damn sure. Alrighty, guys, that's all I've got for this stream. Going to go ahead and cut it off now. It's been quite a long day for me, and I've still got some prop analysis to do. Best of luck out there for your round 4 stuff. Smash that like button on the way out as well. I appreciate all the support here on the channel. And of course, going to be doing a review stream tomorrow, so make sure to check that out if you want your week-long lineups reviewed there in the community contest or your round 4 showdown lineups. It'll be a perfect space for that. And of course, that's where we do our debriefing for every single week. So start time for that for Monday morning is probably going to be like 9 a.m. Eastern time. So just keep an eye on my Twitter. I'll go ahead and tweet that out there. And if it's not a part of your process every week, if you can't make it live at 9 a.m. on a Monday, I get that, right? It's a busy time for a lot of people out there. Check out the replay, right? Just like for these streams, you can check that out there too. It's super useful. We don't just go over people's lineups, but we do a lot of, I would say meta construction, right? Taking a look at, how other people are building, what was successful one week versus another, and kind of trying to learn a few things from that. So with that, guys, I appreciate the support, like I said, and I'll catch you guys out there tomorrow.